How did the hip hop come to be?
So the Hip Hop Trooper came to be 8 years ago, possibly, and I just wanted to combine my love of Star Wars and hip hop. Basically, everything I grew up with admiring, I wanted to blend together and bring forward. My obsession with Star Wars really started as a child. My mother worked at the cinema back in Oxford, England, and struggled with a babysitter. So my fondest memories of being in the cinema / my second home was watching Star Wars repeatedly over and over again, and Superman, Christopher Reeves.
That's great.
The best Superman, man.
When did you decide to combine hip hop and Star Wars? Like, where did that come from?
Well, Okay. So I decided to combine hip hop and Star Wars. One day, I had a bag of money, and I wanted to spend it on something I always wanted, and that was to be a stormtrooper. Once I got the armor, I made a mistake of purchasing out-of-the-box armor, which was nothing like in the pictures or in the movies. But I made the best of it, and you know what? It was fun, and nobody could tell me I wasn't a stormtrooper, because even though when I still put it on, I was still a stormtrooper. I was a big kid, a little kid, all over again. But I just wanted to add something extra to it. I went to Dragon Con, and there was other stormtroopers, and I was looking at them, and they was looking at me, and I know they were kind of making fun of my armor because it wasn't as accurate as theirs. So I went back home, kind of threw my toys around a little bit, and said, you know what? I'm going to do something new. And that's when I came up with the idea of bringing my personality into the suit and creating the Hip Hop Trooper. You know, my favorite reaction when I first showed up as Hip Hop Trooper was, first of all, nobody was bringing sound systems, stereos, or boombox to conventions at that time. So all ears and eyes were on me. And Dragon Con has a lot of alcohol. Then I show up with the music, so you can imagine what happened. It became literally a 24-hour party when I showed up.
What do you love about this other persona of yourself?
What I love about being a Hip Hop Trooper is this. Superman has his cape, I have my boombox. He has to get into a phone booth, I just put on a mixtape. I love being a Hip Hop Trooper. It's my second life. I look in the mirror, I see the Hip Hop Trooper. It's hard sometimes to balance because it's a character that I created that is all me. Now, I did not create hip hop and I did not create Star Wars, but I did create the Hip Hop Trooper.
Everybody says like nerd is kind of like comic books and movies and stuff, but
yeah.
Combining hip hop and Star Wars, do you think you're showing the world that being that means you can be really a nerd about anything?
Yeah. Well, nerd culture to me really is obsessing and into something that you love. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be taking pictures of birds. If you love it and you're obsessed by it, you're somewhat a nerd because people look at you as, oh my God, this person's obsessed with something. To me, that's nerd culture and being very passionate about what you believe in. So when I created the Hip Hop Trooper, it was so easy. It was Star Wars, it was hip hop. Nobody can tell me I cannot do this. And unlike other cosplays, to me, Hip Hop Trooper is not a cosplay because I cannot cosplay as myself. You know, I didn't see something and replicate it. And that's not a diss to any cosplayers because I cosplay as a lot of things. The Rock, you know, I do other Star Wars stuff. I do Banana Man. I got some other top secret stuff in the making. So if you're gonna do it, just go all the way out 100 and just be yourself.
Have you ever received negative criticism, and how did you deal with it?
As far as negative criticism goes, I've received lots of negative criticism, mainly from the Star Wars community, because they, in the beginning, not so much now, let me rephrase that, they didn't quite get it. And because they were not fans of hip hop, they did not see the connection. But hip hop, when hip hop really came out to the masses in the 70s and the 80s, if you go back and listen and go back to that era, that's when Star Wars was huge. And every kid that grew up listening to hip hop or becoming hip hop artists, Star Wars was a huge part, not only of their writing, but their creativity and the culture itself. Star Wars and hip hop go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Have any doors opened for you since becoming the Hip Hop Trooper?
As far as doors opening for me since becoming a Hip Hop Trooper, Lots of doors. Lots of doors. I've done some incredible things, some things I wouldn't even imagine doing in my wildest, imagination. Growing up back in Oxford, England, if you had told me on my darkest day, don't worry, one day you're going to be the hip hop trooper, I would have been like, don't do drugs, and you can't be my friend anymore because you're just insane. But one thing I always tell people, yes, doors has opened, but guess what? I did not close any doors behind me. So I'm always bringing in other people. I'm not shielded with any of my accomplishments or my achievements. So the door is open. So it's right behind me. Come on.
Before we move on to our next set of interview questions, is there anything about the hip hop troupe you want to add that you want people to know?
Babe?
I don't know.
Anything?
I can't think of anything.
But when you leave, she'll be, why did you say this? You should have said this. You should have said this. And I'll be like, well, now you have your voice.
You put me in the spot, I can't think.
Yeah. Actually, you could mention, how did I get the name the People's Cosplay Champ?
Yeah, how did you get the name the People's Cosplay Champ?
So, I got the nickname, the champion, the People's Cosplay Champion. Reason being, mainly because of all the charity work that I do. And when I started cosplaying as Dwayne the Rock, let me start again on that. Okay. So, I got the nickname, the Now I can't speak.
Don't worry.
All right, here we go.
It's fine.
Let's do this.
Happens all the time.
Outtakes.
Editing is the favorite.
Outtakes. All right. So, how did I get the name the People's Cosplay Champion? Well, pretty easy actually. I did and still do a lot of charity work. So people called me the champion for that. And then after cosplaying as Dwayne the Rock Johnson so many times, people started, the People's Champ. So I got this nickname, the People's Cosplay Champ. So people started calling me at conventions, and I just went with it. Because my thing is this being the cosplay champ does not mean I'm better than you. But if you want to be the champion, come take it from me. I have the title. I'm accepting all challenges.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw you, it was at the last party on Elderon. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of blew me away. I think it was one of those things where it showed me I can alter any cosplay I put out there into my own personal thing. Because I thought, I got to do it to a T or everyone's going to get mad at me. Mm-hmm. When I really want to change this about my Han Solo cosplay or change this about my Scarlet Witch cosplay. So that was something that I think when people see you, they're like, well, he's doing this, so I can go and change, this. Like, there's last past year we saw the Joker trooper. That was
crazy.
Wild
there's
stuff.
A trooper for everything. There's an IKEA trooper probably walking around in Sweden. There's a trooper for everything now. Like, it's just nuts. And they all use the word trooper, which I think is cool. I'm not saying I'm responsible, but
maybe a little bit.
There's some things happen along the way.
I have something for you. Maybe you tell them about the first time you were called the hip-hop trooper, if you remember where that was. Where somebody actually recognized you and called you that for the first time.
Someone called you that?
We were in Atlanta, we were going to the So Def show.
Oh.
Was that one where you dressed up?
I was dressed up. No, that was the concert with LL Cool J and Public Enemy.
Yes.
So tell us about that. Was the name bestowed upon you? Or did you come up with it yourself?
Myself? Actually, I'll go into that, yeah. So, being the hip-hop trooper, in my early days, I called myself the hip-hop stormtrooper. Then people were calling me the Adidas or Adidas, depending where you're from, trooper, because I was wearing my OG suit, which was Adidas. And I went with it. Cool. But then I didn't like the fact that people were labeling me with a brand and not a culture. So I would get into arguments with people. They said, you're sponsored by Adidas, you're sponsored. I said, no, I'm not. They said, why are you wearing it then? I said, I'm wearing it for hip-hop. This is part of a culture. Run DMC, Raising Hell, Shout Tops, Adidas. That was the thing. So eventually I had to shake that off. I scraped off, I don't like this anymore. How can I stop people calling me the Adidas trooper? I am the hip-hop trooper, and that's it. And I started calling myself that. And then one day in Atlanta at a concert, I remember I showed up and someone out of the blue just yelled, hip-hop trooper! And I remember looking at my wife and I was just like, okay, I'm here now. This is it, Hip Hop Trooper.
What was it like sipping wine with William Shatner?
Sipping wine with William Shatner. You know what? Great. I'll tell you a little good story about that. So everybody hates Bill. They say he's a nasty person and he's mean. And even when I was getting prepped in makeup, they were like, just he's mean, he's this, he's that. Well, I didn't experience any of that. And it just so happened there was going to be 2 more interviews after me, but he actually canceled them for the day because we spoke for like almost an hour. That show could have been 2 hours long. He was so into me. I was like, are we on a date? Like, he was like really, really digging me. And he was a great person to, talk to. And Captain Kirk is the man. He's the man.